Welcome back, Timberwolves fans. This is Timberwolves Today here on FanArch. I'm your host, Mark Fiers, to bring you all of the Minnesota Timberwolves news, highlights, comments, commentary, stats, deep dives, you name it. We're bringing it here. And right out of the bat, I am starting with a Mike Conley interview. If you remember from my podcast, this was just 5 days ago. If you subscribe, you probably have heard it, listened to it, remember it. If not, go back and watch it. About 5 days ago, I had a little take on the DNA of the Minnesota Timberwolves, and their personality and some of the destructive habits and natures of it. That players who get frustrated easily and shut down, they can't get over it. Pointed out Nas is one of those people. Jaden is one of those people. Players who get frustrated and they force things. It gets them out of their game, their natural rhythm. Being Rudy and Julius. And then today, well, yesterday, I guess, this interview was brought up on Dane Moore's Twitter, his X page, and it's a question to Mike Conley, and listen to his response here.
Well, we, as a team, rightfully so, we focus on all the negative when things happen. It's just like, man, we got to do this, we got to do that. But it's like, can we start trying to bring in positive things? Like, man, we're stopping them every single time. We just got to rebound. Dante keeps shooting, Ayo keeps shooting, Bones keep shooting, guys, we're getting great looks. Just stay with it. There's all this stuff that can try to get guys in a positive mind frame, because I know a lot of guys can get down individually if things aren't going their way, and we do have an emotional team, so it can spiral if it gets too crazy. So it's just about like trying to keep everybody's spirit up and understanding that we're a really good team, and just because we hit a tough stretch and injury and whatever we're dealing with, we have a lot in the tank, and we have a very deep team, and we should still be able to go ahead and compete.
All right, you heard it from Mike Conley. Pull out some of these quotes. A lot of guys can get down individually if things aren't going their way. We have an emotional team. It can spiral, if it gets too crazy. And so if you've been watching the Timberwolves, if you've been following the Timberwolves this year, last year, previously, you've seen some of these things. Nas, Nas is struggling right now. We know physically with that shoulder. It is just not his game right now, and you can tell. It is written all over his face, all over his body language, the frustration. Jaden has not punched a wall lately, but you can tell he wants to punch something or somebody. Maybe it's Devin Booker. But these guys, they get off their games. They're emotional, okay? Things spiral with these guys. Rudy, Julius, they get out of their games. Does it really spiral? Maybe it doesn't spiral per se like it does with Nas and Jaden. But people are seeing this. The coaches have to see it. Mike Conley sees it. It has to be talked about among the coaching staff. There has to have been conversations from Chris Finch to Mike Conley to Kyle Anderson to Joe Ingles. Hey, can you get these guys out of this funk? And maybe it was something that Dane Moore has seen as well that prompted, this question or this line of questioning, if you will, to Mike Conley. But it is a concern. It is long-term. It is long-term a concern whether Anthony Edwards is hurt or not. It is... I'm not saying it's a cancer. By no means am I calling these guys cancers to the team, but it is a flu. It definitely is a flu. It is contagious, and it is affecting this team right now. The comments are out there. Whether it's from the team, um, you know. We've seen them if you've been on social media, and so it is something that I am definitely concerned about, and it brings me to my next point, which is Ant really the most valuable player in the league? And I frame it in this way: Ant is we're seeing this in his absence due to all of the injury this year and the current knee issue that's been sidelining him. It's affecting our offensive impact, our offensive net rating, our flow. It's been well documented. I've talked about it. You've been following it. If you've watched the games, you've seen it. It's affecting our shooting. He is not getting to the basket. He is not drawing double teams. Other players are not getting the shots that they normally get. I haven't done the deep dive on this. I will eventually, but there is kind of that hockey assist in basketball where he passes it, it shifts the defense, they make one more pass, wide open shot, and so sometimes it's not the first pass that gets you the wide open shot; it's the second pass, and Ant keys all of that, initiates all of that. The one-on-one, the isolation, the bucketness that Anthony Edwards has, that he can just get buckets when, I mentioned this yesterday, with the Hornets having that 15-0 run. Those things don't happen when Ant is on the court and he can just rally people. And that's what, I think Mike Conley was kind of getting at, is, that positiveness. The perimeter defense, he and Jaden, of course, put a little bit more pressure, a little bit farther out. Ant is not a great defensive player yet, but you have seen the stretches where he is elite defensively, especially on the perimeter, man to man, and so all of these things make Ant so valuable. But what the Wolves are missing most right now is not his shooting, not his one-on-one bucketness, his defense or his assists, anything, ball movement, anything like that. What they are missing right now is his aura, his personality, his drive, his willingness to hit open guys, to encourage all of his teammates. You see this on a game by game basis when the Wolves go on these runs, and then Bones hits a shot. Other teams calls a timeout, and Anthony Edwards is the first one over there, pumping him up, dapping him up, right? He's the first one to fist to chest bump, Jaden McDaniels after a slam or a block or steal or whatever it is. He's the one that says, "Get on my back." There isn't anyone else on the team that is anywhere close to that. Okay. Um, right now, what the Wolves are missing most is that person, that Julius, that Io, that Dante, whoever's on the court, Jaden, if Jaden was playing, they don't have that person that they can look at and say, he's got us. Okay. Um, and they don't have that right now. And that is 100% the biggest reason why the Wolves are struggling right now. If you're a Minnesota sports fan, you're a Minnesota Vikings fan, I think it was, to make an analogy, I think it was very similar to around 2018-19. The Vikings under Mike Zimmer had one of the best a top five defense every year, pretty much, loaded with talent. And Everson Griffin had this gigantic personality, this warrior, this rah rah, very charismatic, maybe created artificially with some things that he was doing. But he was that guy. And when he left the Vikings, they didn't have that. They had Kendricks, they had Barr, they had Harrison Smith, they had these Pro Bowl type players, but none of them were that personality that could just fire you up, especially in a sport like football, especially on the side of the defense. And Anthony Edwards has that same effect on the Wolves on court. And he's on the bench, he's cheering him on, but it's just different. And that is significantly holding this team back right now. So if you just want to look at straight numbers, Shea, Jokic, Luca, um, statistically have bigger impacts. But there's not a person that has the emotional impact to his team like Anthony Edwards has. Someone that is also having an emotional impact on the Minnesota Timberwolves is Rudy Gobert. And if you have been listening to watching the podcast long enough, you know I have a love and hate relationship with Rudy Gobert. If you don't know about this, you need to subscribe, you need to follow, you need to listen. Um, whether it's here, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on Apple Podcast or um, Spotify. Follow along, come with the journey, come on the journey with me. I have a love and hate relationship with Rudy Gobert. Um, he frustrates me. There's things he does great, but to me, the negatives outweigh the positives. It all started to fall apart on March 3rd. The trade deadline, slow mo came on the team, and he was asked in a post game interview or as a pre, I don't know, some interview. Um, what are you looking forward to most with the addition of Kyle Anderson on the team? And you all know what Rudy said. He said, well, I can finally have someone that will pass me the ball. Um, since that point, the Wolves are 7-9. 16 games is a pretty decent sample size. It's a fifth of the season. On the year, Rudy is shooting 68-69% from the field, almost 70%. In the last 10 games, he's been shooting 59%. So pretty much a 10% drop. And that is a huge drop when all of your shots come from within 3 feet from the basket. What Rudy's words did was essentially, in my mind, in my opinion, in my take, in my observation, it kind of mind fucked the team. Because what are they trying to do now? They're trying to get him involved in the pick and roll. They're trying this pocket pass where he starts at like the free throw line and he rolls, and the bounce pass just can't get up to his hands. He can't get down for it. He's His toughness and rebounding. He gets lots of rebounds, but like they're Angel Reese rebounds. He's padding his stats. They're trying to force lobs into him that aren't there. And I'll give his teammates credit. They're trying to get Rudy the ball, they're trying to get him involved, but it's at the expense of turnovers. And not only is it at the expense of turnovers that lead to fast breaks, that lead to obviously us not scoring and our offensive rating going down. But it leads to something that happened in the last game against the Hornets when Rudy missed two bunnies. And you can watch the video. It's on X. Just type into X into the search bar. Brick Center, Jaden McDaniels, and Anthony Edwards sick of Rudy Gobert. And you'll see the video. He misses two bunnies in a row, and in the background on the bench, injured, you can see Jaden cover his face and Anthony Edwards stand up and throw his hands in defeat. And I don't know if he says the words, but you can literally read his body language. Come on, man. Like, how in the fuck do you miss those shots? Um, and you can see this from other players. When he misses those wide open shots, heads hang, arms go up, hands go up, heads go down. And there is this rift, there is this elephant in the room right now that they're trying to get Rudy the ball, they're trying to get him involved, and it's not paying off. And at some point, they're just going to have to stop passing him the ball. And if that's the case, who knows what happens, right? But in my love hate relationship with Rudy Gobert, I'm putting some of the blame on a little bit of this disconnect right now with Rudy, because I think he just sometimes says stuff that he doesn't know the effect, the negative effect that his words have, and people can read into what he says. It's really obvious. I don't know if it's the French accent. I don't know what it is, but people can definitely read straight into what he's saying. So the last point, what we're going to end on today is the national championship game. Michigan beat UConn. Very happy with that. My prediction was a little bit off. I did still predict the right winner, but just the tightness and score. Am glad that Dan Hurley lost. Am happy that Michigan won. Um, and also surprised that this is only Michigan's second national championship. Someone of my age that grew up with the Fab Five, the fact that this is only, you think about Michigan basketball, this is only their second national championship kind of blew my mind. But a few weeks ago, I had done a NCAA tournament preview and some of the players to watch who could be there around when the Wolves draft. And this game, actually, with the UConn, the Huskies, and the Wolverines, featured a number of players who may be there when the Wolves draft. Uh, Braylon Mullins has been mocked anywhere between 15 and 30. Adai Mara in the lower to mid 20s. Merez Johnson, who is someone that I pointed out in my preview, is somewhere going in between 21 and 27. And then a little bit farther down, maybe early second, Alex Carabin and Terrace Reed Jr., who actually could fit into the Wolves system pretty well. I think Morez could go in there. Adai, if we move on from Rudy, getting another tall guy in there, a rim protector, to put alongside, maybe create some competition. Alongside Berenger would be great. Braylon Mullins can shoot. Obviously, we've seen that in the NCAA tournament. He would be a pretty decent addition as well. One other thing to keep an eye on is if the Wolves drop to, I guess, if they continue to lose, they might get a top 19 pick. And in a pick swap with Detroit, which is 19 protected, if the Wolves finish in the bottom 19 or the top 19, if you will, they don't have to swap that pick. So if the Wolves continue to lose and get bounced early in the playoffs, they could retain their first round pick and be in that 19 range. If they don't, it will likely become a very late 20 second round pick, like 28, something like that, with the Detroit expected to go very deep in the playoffs. If that is the case, it puts us on the very, very edge of being able to draft someone like Yaxel Lendenborg, who is being mocked anywhere between 10 and 17. So it'd still be a stretch there, but he would be a fantastic addition to the Wolves, especially if we decide to move on from um, Julius Randle. So this game featured a number of players who might be wearing a Timberwolves uniform next year. That is all I have for today. Make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you listen or watch the podcast. We here would love to have you follow along, rate us, rate me, rate the podcast, drop into those comments. What do you think? Is Ant the most valuable player in the league? What do you think about Mike Conley's comments? Do you blame Rudy for everything that is happening in this world? Some do, and sometimes I do. But hit those comments, and we will see you all soon. Bye.